Hello and welcome to Small Business Snippets, the podcast from smallbusiness.co.uk. I'm your host, Anna Jordan. For the next few months, we'll be looking at small business milestones. Think landing your first client, turning a profit, and even your first major setback. In the studio, we have Matt Connelly, founder of I Hate Ironing, a digital laundry and dry cleaning service based in London. He started the company in 2013 and now has 12 employees. Today, we're going to talk about one in particular, Helen, the head of customer care. Hello, Matt.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well indeed, thank you.
Great. Well, I'll kick off by asking, how did you go about hiring your head of customer care? What were you looking for?
In the very early stages of our business, I spent a lot of time with a couple of particular dry cleaners, and those dry cleaners were our very first partners. One was called Jeff and one was called Rashid, and I was actually doing the collections and deliveries myself, and I used to go and collect the garments from Jeff's shop each evening and deliver the clothes to our customers, and each evening I spent maybe 15 or 20 minutes with Jeff talking about the business, and I used to observe how he interacted with his customers, and it really struck me just how important the relationship was that he had with each of his individual customers. You could see that they would go into his shop because he really cared about them and they felt like he cared for their clothes, and it was a real genuine human relationship. And I could see that there was such value in that, and it was so important to his business that I promised myself as we grew our business, we wouldn't replace that personal element of the experience.
Could you give me some examples of how he excelled in his customer care?
Sure. So it really struck me. So I used to be there about 6:45 in the evening. When we first started, all our deliveries were in the evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I still had a job at the time. Finished my job and I'd arrive at his shop at 6:45. He would have cleaned the garments for our 2 or 3 customers that we might have had at that time. People would walk into his shop. So typically people would be working and they'd come and collect their garments after work. And each person that walked into the shop, there was always a smile and a friendly greeting. And Jeff seemed to know something about each person as they walked through the door. So it was, how was your holiday? How's the new job? Is your mum okay? Sorry to hear about X, Y, Z. So there was that real care and knowing each customer that used to really strike me. The second thing was that his shop was always due to close at 7 o'clock, and he never closed the door until about 7:10 or 7:15. And each and every day you'd see somebody running through the door, slightly sweating after getting off the tube at Clapham Common, and running down to his shop, and they sort of stumble through the door, and they say, "Oh, thank God you're still open." And you could see it really meant something to them. And I guess that he'd probably done that by accident a few times and then realised that it was really helpful to people because everybody works such long hours, etc. Yeah, so people really loved it. It's something that we've tried to build into our business, a bit of flexibility in terms of times for deliveries and things like that. The last thing that always used to strike me was if somebody had a garment that they really loved, that he was dry cleaning or he was repairing, they'd come into the shop, and it might be a lady's favourite dress had got damaged or had got a wine stain in, and they'd come in and there'd be a bit of uncertainty in their faces, and they'd say, were you able to get rid of the stain? And he'd say, let me just show you, and he'd sort of unveil the dress that looked perfect again. And he used to sort of wait to see the expression on their faces, and you could see he took such pride and joy from seeing like how delighted they were that their favourite dress had been restored. And yeah, it used to, I've told the story before, but it reminded me of somebody giving someone a present at Christmas. Once I had that understanding, I knew that the position of head of customer care would be absolutely critical for our business, and it was really difficult to find somebody who fit the profile for that particular role. we needed somebody who would really stand out and really go the extra miles for customers. And luckily, I had worked with Helen in a previous role, and I knew that she was in a period where she was thinking about her next career move, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity for me and for our business to bring Helen on board and really make that critical addition to our own team. I think when you've worked with somebody in the past, it gives you a great deal of confidence and assurance in terms of how they're going to be in the role. When you're interviewing people that you don't have previous experience with, it's very difficult to know if the person that turns up on interview day is going to be the person that you work with for the next few years, because there's always some kind of discrepancy or disparity between somebody's interview performance and how they behave on a day-to-day basis. So having that experience of working with Helen for 3 years and really knowing her very well made it so much easier for me to know that she'd be right for the role.
And what has she taught you about customer care since she's taken on the role?
So before Helen arrived, she was employee number 3, and I was doing a lot of the customer care myself, and I probably give myself a 6 out of 10 for customer care. And so bringing somebody in who, in my opinion, is a 9 or a 10 really just made a huge amount of difference. She has much more empathy than I do. She's more warm and engaging with the customers than I ever was, as much as I tried. She certainly has that strength. And I think that one of the key attributes is somebody who's a finisher. So something that Helen has as a personality trait, and something that she's been able to ensure is carried on not just through herself but across her team of 5 people now, is that we should always find a resolution for a customer, and nothing gets left hanging. So whilst the individual interactions are really great, when we started dealing with bigger numbers of customers and therefore a bigger number of issues, the philosophy of making sure that everything was complete and everything was finished and that people were always responded to in a timely manner, that personal ethos is something that we've now been able to roll out right across the company.
You mentioned her and her team. What's her relationship with the team like, and how do her attributes help to make her team bond more effectively?
Yeah, I think that the same ethos of wanting to care for the customers is also hugely beneficial in terms of wanting to care for the staff. So as a business, and particularly in our early years, we might not have been able to pay the wages that much bigger, more established companies did. But what we've always tried to do is make up for any shortcomings in that regard in terms of how we treat our staff and the care that we give to them. So Helen, again, is particularly very, very good at that. And I think that element of Helen's nature is something that's created a really, really great team atmosphere among the customer care team.
More broadly speaking, what would you recommend for entrepreneurs who are looking to find the right fit for a certain role, particularly with small business when the available talent pool might be a bit smaller?
Yeah, sure. It's something that I wouldn't say we've completely cracked at this stage. We're certainly getting better at hiring as we develop and we grow. I think the real key things that I would say I've learned over the last few years are, one, make sure you really understand who it is that you're looking for, and once you've got that clear understanding of the attributes that you require for a role, then you can build a recruitment process to really test for those attributes. And I think there's a lot of generic interview questions and interview processes, But until you really understand what kind of attributes you're looking for, then you can't really design a solution to ascertain if somebody has those particular attributes. And I think once you know that, I think a rigorous process is really, really important, and spending a little bit of extra time with each candidate. So if you're not sure, have another interview, make each interview that little bit longer and a little bit more rigorous, because investing that extra time before you recruit someone is a much better use of your own time and your own resource than getting a decision wrong and having a difficult decision of having to part ways with somebody and then being set back months by having to go through the whole process again.
You mentioned before that there can be a disparity between the person that you see in the interview and the person you get on the job. What other kind of issues are common when looking for employees?
I wouldn't say we've had specifically that there hasn't been common reoccurring issues within employees. I think the most difficult thing is getting the volume of quality candidates in the first place. So recruiters are very expensive, and some of the other methods that companies use, such as job boards, you find that you get a real mixed standard of employees.
How do you go about making sure you have the biggest pool that you can?
To give customer care as an example, I think rather than just looking at where you advertise and how you advertise, that the whole brand of the company is really important to get the right fit of employer and employee. So, for example, I think three of the 4 customer care representatives that we've recruited in the last year all said that they looked at our reviews online in terms of assessing if we were actually a good employer and somebody who really cared about customer service.
Yeah.
And that consistency between us putting on a job advert that customer service is absolutely critical to our business, and then when the guys went and checked out Trustpilot or Google reviews and saw that we're averaging 4.5 stars and time again customers are saying how great the customer care is, then you've got a real consistency between what the company actually does and what people actually think of us, and then the text that's on a job advert. So I think taking a really holistic approach to it is really important.
Moving on to past the recruitment stage, how do you make your working environment so that your employee retention rate is that bit higher?
It's difficult to say exactly what we do, but I think we're doing something right. The only employee who's left us in the last couple of years is Sonia, one of our customer care team, who's gone off to travel around New Zealand, and she went with our best wishes. And I think, as I say, there's a number of things that really create that bond and make people feel part of the company. It starts first and foremost with that ethos of caring and looking after our staff. So we want everybody to be happy in their work. We push people and we challenge people, but I think that we do it in the right way. If somebody's having a difficult time or they have any problems, we're always there for them as a company. We really encourage staff to interact well with one another, and we arrange socials and things like that. But I think more than those things, which are little additions to the company's culture, I think it's really that ethos of everybody working hard for each other, everybody pulling together in a common cause and towards a common goal. There's no political elements within the company. It's something that we're very keen on keeping as we grow even further, that everybody supports one another rather than competes with one another. Work really hard to make sure that we're not just successful as individuals, but we're all successful together as a team. I think creates a great atmosphere.
Well, wonderful. That's everything from me. Thank you for coming in, Matt.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
You can find out more about I Hate Ironing at ihateironing.com. You can also visit smallbusiness.co.uk for more guidance on finding the best staff for your business and upping your employee retention. Remember to follow us on Facebook at smallbusiness.co.uk and Twitter at smallbusinessuk, all lowercase. Join us next time when I'll be finding out how one entrepreneur made his success as an international speaker after an unexpected knockback at his first public speaking engagement. Until then, thank you for listening.